How do you get comfortable enough in your own skin to start fighting for others and standing up when you see injustice? This is Jimanekia Eborn from Facebook.com/Jimmy Eborn, JIMMYEBORN. And I'm Cathy Bertulli from theintimacydojo.com. Thanks for sharing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Being comfortable is something that is never comfortable.
Yes.
It's something you work on every day. It's taken me at least 3 years to get where I am right now. And that took a lot of crying, a lot of meditation, a lot of journaling, a lot of time in my room alone, listening to all of my favorite emo songs, and watching sad movies. It's hard. It's scary.
Well, I think it's a journey, at least from my experience, like as a big woman speaking up and starting to say, hey, this is not okay to treat people that way, and we're human too, even if we have more fat cells or whatever. For me, it was a journey where I had to keep being with the discomfort, but I didn't have to do it all overnight. Was that your experience as well?
I feel like with me growing up, I was raised by my grandparents, and that's already being raised in a totally different generation. I remember I didn't date a lot. Just because I just didn't feel like it. So my mom would always ask me, you're not a lesbian, are you? And I'd be like, no, I don't think so. I just don't want to date anyone. Little forward, little queer now. Yeah. So that got
right here too, yeah.
But I felt like everything I always had to keep pushed down because I was always worried that I would be questioned for it. And even within my own sexuality, luckily, oddly, I was always given like books that I could read because I was a big reader, which allowed me to find myself in reading and learning my body and everything. And getting into college, when I was like, oh, I'm comfortable in my body, like having sex with people are like, oh, you're a slut. I'm like, no, no. Like my safe sex checked all the time. And I knew who I was having sex with, but other people always saw it as, oh, you're just a slut. All right, cool. Fast forward again to where I'm at today as a sex educator that tells people have as much sex as you want, lube it up, use protection. It's been a hard transition to finding my own comfort in my own skin to be able to say, you're allowed to feel aroused. You're allowed to have sexual pleasure. As a woman of color, you're allowed to do whatever you want and hold your own voice and not be yelled at saying, oh, you're just a bitch or you're just opinionated. I am opinionated. Thank you.
Yes. And you're allowed to have your opinion.
Yeah, you are. And you're allowed to take control of your own body. And I feel like for me, in this whole election time, be very honest and vulnerable, it's been really hard for me dating. Looking back on who our future president will be in some days, like 12 days. Just 12 days, that's fine. I think there's been a louder outcry of racism. And so for me, I have dated a lot of Caucasian men. And for me, I just feel unsafe now. As a woman of color, I do get fetishized a lot. Fetishized a lot. And I think it's gotten more heightened. And so I'm just like, oh, no, I'm good. Like, just until I can personally find my strength in that now that's what I'm working on. I just, unless I already know you, unless I feel safe with you, I'm just not wanting to be bothered. So, that's scary.
It does seem like more people are, as a woman of size, I have a lot of videos out there, and I've always gotten some nasty comments, but it just seemed like just the number of nasty comments, just pure, blatant, like spiteful, mean comments have definitely gone up in the last, few months. And I'm like, it does make me, I don't want to go on a date with that.
It's too comfortable for me. Way too comfortable with this nonsense. So it's harder, but it's feasible and obtainable.
Yes.
You can, if you want it bad enough, you find a way to make yourself happy and comfortable in your own skin. You got to find what works. Meditation worked for me. So every day, hours on top of hours. And it didn't always work out. Sometimes I'd be like, this is stupid. I can't stop talking. But it's feasible. You can find comfort in your own skin to be able to help others find comfort.
Yeah, and it's okay to do it in baby steps and take breaks, like you said, and take care of yourself. And I like to I have some really great community. You're part of it. It's like, people I can go, oh my God, what just happened? And then we can rally and say, hey, this is not okay. And I think sometimes it's the quieter voice that just quietly says, no, like, or this is what happened. And I've been trying to be a bigger voice at work too, which I've always kept very separate, my day job versus my, any activism I do. I've always kept it very separate. And now it's like, nope, if someone says even, I'm like, no, do you know that this is what the case is? And I'd rather have people, if I can say it kindly, and some days are easier than others, but start educating people more, because I think there's a lot of people that, just like we can get in a bubble where we get reinforced, other people are like, oh no, it's fine, I don't know what people are complaining about. And then when you can give them one concrete example, they're like, oh, that's not how I want to be. So
I feel like my hand has been almost forced.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I have to be loud now. And I've had backlash on my Facebook, and I'm like, well, let me warm up my hands and start typing, because it's like you can't hold back anymore, because us holding back isn't getting us anywhere.
No. And
we're going into rough times.
Well, being silent,
not looking too good.
Being silent is not going to change people's minds.
No.
And
no.
Like,
it's not at all.
Like Ida Mandalay at Sex Geek Summer Camp this summer, she's amazing. She was talking about how, like, sometimes you've explained it calmly to 25 people and the 26th comes along and you're like, and you're not patient anymore. And it's okay to say, no, I'm not going to have this conversation. No, I'm not going to repost this right now. But the more we can raise our voices and walk through the discomfort of saying, hey, this is not okay with me, and owning that, I think that's so powerful.
I think that's amazing. I would say Ida's like amazing, as you said, and very supportive. And she inspires me to want to raise my voice.
Yeah.
So people like that, it forces my hand as well to be like, oh God, I need to raise my voice too. Like,
yeah, they can do it.
Let's do this. Like, it is more than one person. And it does take time. Baby steps. Don't push it faster than you can for yourself, for sure. Yeah.
But it is encouraging. Like, I've seen you post a lot of really wonderful things and calling people, like, not okay kind of stuff. And that makes me feel like I think we kind of leverage each other. Like, oh, that person's doing it. It's okay for me to do a little more, and that helps someone else speak up. And there are times when we just have to shut things down, but the more we can be kind and like, no, not okay, just a firm boundary, I think it's wonderful.
Boundaries are amazing. They're my favorite. Hold them for yourself always. But it is a scary time. It is a time where we have to be louder, but definitely finding comfort in your own spaces, in community. Community is amazing. And it's literally those days where you're like, I can't do this anymore. And someone's like, do you know who you are? And they remind you, and you're like, yes, you're right. Let me go back to this. It's helpful, but it is a process, and no one wakes up changed. No one wakes up woke.
No, it's a process. And just like some mornings it's hard to get out of bed, there's things that we all run into that are so, I so appreciate you sharing, because I think a lot of people see people that are out there and like, oh, that's not me, versus they don't see the journey. And so sharing the journey and the vulnerability might help some other people go, oh, I can do that too. I can raise the volume just a little bit.
And my journey is restarting for other things. Like, my journey is never done. You can always restart.
We always find, like, as soon as I get comfortable with one thing, I find another thing that I'm like, oh, this is scary. We keep growing.
Story of my life.
Yeah. Thanks so much. If you have questions, please leave comments below. We'd love to know what you think.